Good morning, good morning. This is Shah from the podcast Thrive Not Survive After Child Abuse and my weekly talk on Instagram Live. Every week, 10 o'clock, every Saturday, 10 o'clock Dallas time, um, I'll jump on Instagram Live, and most of the time, if not all the time, I always ask and try to answer some questions that I get from you guys who are listening so faithfully every week or to my podcast. So great. So thank you for being here. Today I want to talk a little bit about a famous painter from Spain, and I used to go to Spain as a kid. I used to go to Spain every year, right? So about when I was seven. That's a long time ago. But there were not a lot of people in my country actually who really went on a summer break, and definitely they wouldn't go far. But my dad figured out with a large family that it was actually much cheaper to go to Spain and have his family spending the summer holidays there than staying in the Netherlands, which was quite expensive, and have to, deal with unexpected bad weather because we have the Dutch summers. They could be very nice, but they could also be horrible. And so my dad, at some point in time, somewhere in 1967, yeah, he figured out that it was maybe much nicer to drive to Spain and then take his family there. And then we had like 4 weeks. Can you believe it? 4 weeks we spent in the sun there at a camping place, and so it was an economical thing, and but it was also like a weather thing, right? Because we had a large family, and if you had a summer in the Netherlands where it was raining for 4 weeks and you had like 5, 6 kids running around, that was a disaster. So we did that. It was a long trip. There were no highways, or at least not many. And at that time we had all different currencies. So you went from the Netherlands, you went to Belgium, then you had the Belgium franc, and then you went from Belgium to France, and then you had the French franc, and then you went from France to Spain, and then you had the peseta. So you had all these different currencies that you had to deal with, and not to say about languages, because the only language we actually spoke was Dutch and maybe 4 words of English, and the Spanish had Spanish and no words of English. So try to communicate with that. But anyhow, that's probably one of the first time that I came across a painter called Pablo Picasso, and he was actually born even in the 19th century already, and he died about I think in 1970 something. Famous. A famous Spanish painter. His his most famous painter, and has nothing to do with the topic that I'm going to talk about. Well, maybe a little bit, right? His most famous painting is a gigantic painting. It's called Guernica. I'm not sure for all you Spanish listeners if I say that correctly. But Guernica, and it talks about the Spanish War, where a lot of bad things happened when Spain got into fascism um, back in the mid 20th century. So that's Pablo Picasso. But Pablo Picasso was also he was a man with all kind of sayings. He was a philosopher, and he was a lover of life as well. And one of the sayings that's famous, he said, the meaning of life is to find your gift. The meaning of life is to find your gift. But he makes a clear distinction already between the meaning of your life and the purpose of your life. So Pablo Picasso said first, the meaning of your life is to find your gift. And that could be a lifelong search, by the way. But once you find it, right, then the purpose of your life is to give it away. Right? I think I'd always thought that was really beautiful. I'm not fully understanding when I was young what that meant, but I still thought it was a beautiful saying. So the meaning of your life is to find your gift, and the purpose of your life is to give it away, right? And often when we want something in life, then we want something for us to keep. We want, I don't know. In the beginning, it is toys that you want, and later on, it's maybe some bigger things. But we often want things to keep, right? Even if you want a partner, it's like, oh, it's my partner, right? You would never say it's my partner. That's my gift, and now I give her away. That would be really weird. So he must have meant something else. He must not definitely meant something or in that sort, like things that you can touch. He must think about other things. He was a painter, and he had a message always with his paintings. A lot of his paintings had they carry a message. So I could imagine that he found out that painting was his gift, and through the painting he gave his message. So that could be it, right? So just and I just looked it up. It was like probably about 4 days ago. I saw this as memory on the timeline. If you go to Facebook, then and if you've been there long enough, then every year Facebook kind of populates your post from a year ago, and then call that your memories. And I don't do so much social media anymore, but for some strange reason, I always like that. So every day I always look like, ooh, what happened last year, or what happened the year before, or what happened the year before. So it takes the most popular post from that day, I must say, but then all the years that you were on Facebook. And this one pops up. There was in a time that I thought it was really cool to always post quotes that look so profound, but I never really explained it. So I thought, maybe I should start explaining some of these quotes and why I thought it was so cool to place them. Now I'm sure that I placed this a few years ago, that I just placed it to look cool and look smart. But but this year has been a big change for me and for a lot of people. So this year has been a lot of people had to stay inside, and I've noticed there's a lot of bad things to say about 2020, but there's also a lot of good things to say about 2020, because we had to literally stop our life, and we had to reinvent often our life. We could have chosen to be angry in our life and just and complain, and sometimes we had to deal with very serious stuff. Actually, I know very people very close by who actually started to suffer from coronavirus or already overcame it. So it's a very serious thing. But at the same time, if we only look in the mouth of the dragon, this is a Jean saying, right? In the mouth of the dragon, you might only see the fire. But if you have enough distance and you're fast enough, you can also look in the eye of the dragon, and often the eyes of the dragon are very beautiful, right? So it's a Jean saying, right? You can always only look in the mouth of the dragon, but then maybe you miss the eye of the dragon. Does that make sense? Any sense? I don't know. I like old stories, and so I want to connect something with old stories with what I have to say today. So I came up with the dragon story. Anyhow, I posted this post of Pablo Picasso. So if you had never heard of Pablo Picasso, which is, might be true at common in the common generation, and if you're not so much into art, then I still would say find him and read something about the painter, and the painting becomes way more interesting just only than looking at the picture, if you in the painting, if you like it or not, and then find that saying, the meaning is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. And I post that post that I had like 3-4 years ago. I post that in a group called Mastermind. And it's Mastermind. Yeah. Mastermind is founded by Dean Graziosi and Tony Robbins. If you don't know who those people are, that's no big deal. But if you have time, then find those people as well. But anyhow, it brings a lot of people together, and it also provides a platform. And I'm not making any commercial of that, but it finds a platform. But one of the founding principles of that platform is, or what the meaning is that Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi have with that platform, is that people who have something to teach, right, have a platform to teach it on, right? Some people, so if you know how to play, let's say, the piano, it's just it's kind of a random example, but if you know how to play the piano, then maybe that is something you can teach. And since we are now all online, so maybe that's something you want to do online. If you know how to take care of plants, and that is your passion, then maybe that is something that you want to teach. You don't have to be a botanicus or something really. Just whatever you learned, you know, you can start teaching nowadays. So it's saying to become probably one of the biggest industries that we have, and that is self-education. And people nowadays, that trend already happened before 2020, is they just want to have things that you can really apply into life, learn things about that you apply into life. And if you think about if you think about current education, and you go to school, and trust me, I love education. I'm a very big fan of all the teachers out there. I love what you guys do, but we also have to always be critical of what we do. If you look at the educational systems around the world, they are not so much different than when I went to school. We still have to memorize the stuff. We have to learn a lot of these things, but we don't learn a lot about day-to-day skills that we need. So problems that we have, for instance, in life, and almost always run into, like relationship problems, dealing with money, how to deal if your emotions are just all over the place, right? And you are in school, and in the school time is exactly when these things happen, when all your emotions get all over the place. We never learn how to deal with that until we hit the real life. School is real life, so that will be a really good place to teach that. I will keep saying that. I hope you don't hate me for that, but I keep saying that as long as I can, until we all can change that, right? How to be more safe. Do you know this podcast is often only about keeping women and children more safe? And do you know that the rise of abuse is only going that way? Well, a rise is always going up, right? But what I want to say is that the numbers of abuse is still rising. There are definitely things that we can teach other people, right, to help to prevent that. You cannot do everything, right? So yes, in the Netherlands, we teach them how to ride a bike. Okay, that's a good life skill. Um, when I was young, actually in my time, the Netherlands is for 1/3 is below sea level. So every kid had to learn how to swim. And you know why that was? Because in 1954, the dikes broke in the Netherlands due to a big storm, and a huge amount of the country was flooded. It's not like a piece of land. No, it's a huge part of the country. And from that notion came that we all had to learn how to swim. Now, if something like that happens, swimming won't save you. Trust me, my dad worked there to save a lot of people, but swimming was not one of them. But anyhow, swimming, and that has gone. Just because of money, we don't teach kids anymore how to swim in the Netherlands. Parents have to take care of them, like in the US, themselves, right? Which I thought, like, wow, what? That's such a skill we need. We are a country of water. The Netherlands is a country of water. And then on biking, we have to do a little bit of biking, but so simple life skills. But the more complex life skills is that Pablo Picasso is trying to teach you is the meaning of life is to find your gift. And the purpose of life is to give it away. Now, why can kids not be concerned about what their meaning of life is, right? What is their gift, maybe? No? Do we do something about talent development in schools like that? So does that make any sense? Now here is to where Jean comes in a little bit with his own philosophies, not nearly as famous as Pablo Picasso, but I'm still here, and as long as I'm alive, I still have an opportunity to that fame and not fame and fortune, to the fame, right? But anyhow, I truly believe that in here is something really beautiful talked as well. Is remember that I talked a few weeks ago. Actually, I got a lot of reactions on those podcasts. It's about the four consciousness that we should go through in life as well. And the first one was the me conscious. You focus a little bit more on me. Then you have to progress to the refocus, right? We have to see that we are not alone in the world, that the things that we do have often a lot of consequences for other people. and so on and so on, right? There's more, and there's more deeper meaning of that, and then we go on to the earth consciousness, and then we go on to the universal consciousness. But here's the thing. The meaning of life is to find your gift, which already says Pablo Picasso saw the same thing, that's focused on you. And there is a time that you need to focus on self-development, doing all these kind of things, finding what your worth is in the world. But then the purpose is to give it away. It's not throwing away, it's giving it away, which probably meant to someone else. You need to mean something from someone else. Yes, Pablo Picasso, if you follow his life, of course, he constantly kept progressing in his skills. So it's not that the self focus need to stop completely, but he started to give it away, which typically says something about the weak conscious. Now, he did it through his painting and the smart things that he said, but I'm just wondering, what is it that you could do? What is it that you have developed already in your life that you can start giving away? Don't be shy. Don't say, oh, I'm not good enough. Don't think, oh, who wants what I have? You cannot believe, if you go to that group, Mastermind, go to mastermind.com, you cannot believe what people teach there. You might think, man, I don't need that. Maybe not. Talking about painting, I came across a girl and she said, if you are stuck as a painter, I can help you get unstuck with wolves. Now, the first part I thought, okay, that's kind of cool. And then with wolves, and who wants that, right? I don't want to be around a wolf and, the animal. And she's very successful. There are a lot of, probably, there are a lot of stuck painters like Pablo Picasso who cannot get their creative juice flowing again, and the only way to get them unstuck is to put them around a bunch of wolves. Now that sounds like a funny thing, but it's a serious thing. So she found that was her gift. Now you think that you cannot find anyone in the world who want that. In the past that's true, but now with all the online thing, with Facebook, with social media, it's Instagram that I'm talking to right now, with LinkedIn, with Twitter, what have you not nowadays? TikTok, I can't even keep up with it. But isn't that an amazing thing? And then I think someone made that as a fun to prove a point that there's always someone who wants to learn from you. Came up, and this is not a mastermind. I'm just looking at funny stuff once in a while. But he started to teach how to dig a hole in your garden or in your yard with a teaspoon. Now, I don't think you need any lessons to do that. I'm not sure if that's a gift if you know how to do that. But he had a serious theory about it, and there were actually a few people who wanted to learn from it, probably more as a prank or as a joke. But I'm just saying it cannot be crazy enough. So if you go and sit down, you might not come up with something, but I'll take it one step further before I close it off. Think about that if you had a life, and everyone had a life, if you are, I don't know, you don't have to be old, but by the way, it could be very young people. I see very young people, 12, 14, 18 years old, crushing it, teaching things online. You don't have to be an old dude like me, 60 years old, to find out what your gift is. You're probably already late, right? But anyhow, if you're late, that doesn't mean that you don't need to do it anymore. A lot of people had a life, and through life, unfortunately, it throws you a lot of things that are really bad. In my case, I don't want to be a broken record, but in my case, actually, I want to be broken silence. That's an inside joke, but not a broken record. In my case, yes, I was abused when I was young, and I started to make from my mess my message. Now, someone picked up on that thing and made a platform on it. It's called Mastermind, right? It's all people who actually made from their mess their message. So there's something a little bit more interesting in Pablos Picasso saying, because the meaning of life is to find your gift. And something gave you your gift. A gift had to be given to you as well. Does that make sense? Did you see that third layer already coming up? I didn't see it immediately either, by the way, guys. But there's a third layer there's only two sentences, but there's a third layer in there The gift of Pablo Picasso that he had to find was already given to him. Now, whether you believe in something like God or the universe doesn't really matter, right? But did I say already that there are levels of consciousness in his gift, right? In his saying. The first one is the meaning of life is to find your gift. You have to find it. You have to do some work from it. That is the me consciousness, right? Then you have to give it away. That is the we consciousness. But you could easily have a gift that helps to make this earth a better place as well. So that is your third consciousness. It's always hard to teach about the universal consciousness. But strangely enough, it was immediately connected to the first part of his saying. And that is the gift that you have is already given to you. So don't be selfish or don't be sulky if something bad happened to you. Just start to give it away, teach something. I overcame sexual abuse, maybe a big thing. It doesn't have to be that, If you know how to bake a cake, someone else wants to learn how to bake a cake. And nothing is small in this world, right? That there are labels that human beings have put to things, right? Something as, beautiful as the universe. I call it God, but that's all up to you how to call it. He doesn't think, or she doesn't think in big and small. It's just a gift. And I remember when I still have them, by the way, two kids, but my daughter, and I love her to pieces. But she had, as a kid, she had this little thing in her that she, at Christmas time, when she got a gift, she could be a little bit disappointed about the size or the value of the gift. Seriously, true. I mean, she doesn't have that, but she had that a little bit. And I must say, I recognize that character a little bit, just a little bit. I have that sometimes too. I'm a little bit disappointed because I expected something else. So we just admit it, right? It's not a nice character trait, but I recognize that. But my boy, he's a he just whatever you give him, he was like always like, oh my gosh, it's the greatest gift I ever had. And one time he accidentally got something that he already had. We just forgot as parents that he already had that. It was just a toy, like a car. And he said, oh my gosh, it's the best gift I ever had. And then his sister said, like, you already have that toy. So it's a strange thing, right? It's a strange thing. But anyhow, so there's no label. Don't put a label in, my gift is not good enough. You don't know that, right? Someone gave you that gift, and the purpose of you is to give it away. It's not to judge it. There's no judgment over it. If you got a gift, someone might need it, right? Okay, this was Jean with the podcast Thrive Not Survive After Child Abuse, and on Instagram Live as every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock in Dallas. I hope you have a really good Saturday. This is also my last one before Christmas, so I wish you a Merry Christmas. Yeah, I say Merry Christmas. I don't say Happy the Holidays. I say Merry Christmas. Have a Merry Christmas. And I hope to hear you back next week. If you can't wait till hear me next week, then listen to us on the place every Tuesday, 12 o'clock in Dallas time. This one will be a little bit special because I'm going to talk about New Year's resolutions. Oh my gosh, now do we really need New Year's resolutions after what we have been through in 2020? More than ever, right? So listen to me on the place. We do a New Year's resolution every Tuesday at 12 o'clock. Only this one will be a Christmas special. Right? Okay, this was Shah. Wish you a great Saturday. Bye-bye.